Peace, fam. Real quick video. One of the most vital things that we need, considering the times, is fresh water. This is a distiller, and what it does is it distills water pretty much the same way the big companies do it. Now, all you have to do is Google distiller. You can get them from anywhere from Amazon to specific places that sell distillers. This one is from Vevor, Vevor. I'll put the link down below. They might be sold out though. Might be a little difficult to get. And there's various varieties. There's electric ones. There are manual ones such as this one. And it all depends. If you research and read, it all depends on what your preference is as to which one you would like to get. And this basically takes, your tap water or even lake water or beach water, and you can distill 98% of the impurities out of that water. As long as you can create a fire, you can distill. And that's the reason why I went with manual as opposed to electric. And also, as far as the distillation amount, the capacity, the manual offers more liters of distillation generally than the electric kind. The electric kind run off of electricity, and I think some of them need filters. The manual doesn't need a filter. The electric, of course, runs on electricity. So if you have an issue with your electricity, you won't be able to distill. And a couple of other things that made me choose the manual over the electric. But again, it will all suit, or it will all be up to you as to what your preference is once you do a cursory research on distillers. But again, this is a good tool to have because you can purify, just the regular tap water in case you, feel it's not safe and you need to, or you find yourself going to the store or hunting for bottled water, such as what's happening here in California. So I think this would make a good addition to other tools to meet these difficult times. And I'm just going to give you a quick tour, a quick overview basically of how to use this tool. So what you might already know is a distiller basically steams water, runs it through a conduit system, in this case a copper conduit, a copper pipe, through a condenser, which is this small bowl on top. And what happens is the cool water in the condenser cools the steam and brings it back to a liquid form. It brings the steam vapor back to a liquid form, but it does not carry the impurities of the water into the steam. And this is what distillation is, again, as you might already know. And distillers have a multi-purpose use. I suggest you just do your own research to find out things that you can do with it. You can also make essential oils with a distiller. Okay, that's a complicated process, or that's a process that I'm not familiar with, so I'll leave that up to your further research. Now, once you get the distiller going, of course, you fill it with water. For example, this one is a 3-gallon, and it should distill, or it's rated to distill 1 gallon of water over a period of 2 to 3 hours, which is a long time. But once you get it going, you don't get a constant stream. What you get is a sputter. Probably every 5 seconds you'll get like a little, more than a drip. But every 5 seconds you should be getting that interval pump of water, or burst of water. That's when you get it going and everything is running smooth. The hardest thing about this will probably be regulating the water in the condenser, because remember, the condenser, it brings the vapor, distills the vapor back into a liquid. So what happens as this hot steam is running through these copper coils, or this copper coil, it's like 2 coils inside this pot, which is the condenser. As the water runs through that copper coil, or the steam passes through that copper coil, it heats the water that the coil is submerged in. And what happens is you have to recycle that water. Now, some condensers have or some distillers have a water pump that does this for you, but this one didn't come with that. So what happens is you have to manually empty out the hot water through the outlet valve and put in cool water either through the inlet valve or through just pour it in through the top, which is what I did. Because if not, if you do it different, you'll have to start to you have to start getting complicated, and figure out a pumping system where the water comes out from the bottom valve, the hot water, and then you are pumping a cool water supply inside the top valve. There are two valves. I didn't picture it, but there are two valves on the back of this condenser. One that lets the hot water out, and one where you can pump cool water in. So here's a picture of the part of the condenser that you can't see according to how I have it on my range. The top valve, again, is where you can hook up a supply of cool water, and the bottom valve with the red handle, identical to the top valve with the red handle, is where you drain the water from the condenser once it gets too hot. Because again, if it gets too hot, you start to reduce your distillation. Now, some people hook up, again, a system where they take the bottom valve and they hook it up to some sort of drainage pan, or maybe their sink, if they they buy hoses or whatever that are long enough to reach into the sink, and they drain that into the sink once the water gets too hot. But at the same time, the top valve is hooked into their water faucet. So that all depends on how good you are with fittings. You can do that, and you can start to manage the inflow from your water faucet into the top valve and the outflow, because those are ball valves, and you can regulate the flow, however fast or slow you want it. And again, that gets kind of complicated. That's not what I did. What I did was I really simplified it, and I'll show you. What I did was I simply ran the bottom hose into the drainage. The bottom hose goes into a drainage pot, and that pot has ice cold water in it, actually ice. And what I did was I drained the hot water into this ice bowl or ice pot, and then I would take that and put it back into the condenser as cool water. So you can figure out how you want to do that. That was just the way I really simplified it, without having to buy any fittings and buy longer hoses and all that other stuff. I just really simplified it. A couple of tips also. This thing runs a very long time. To get your gallon, you'll probably be on your range for about 2 to 3 hours, probably 3 to 4 hours actually. So keep that in mind. One thing that I didn't do that I recommend you do is go to the hottest faucet in your house, which is usually the faucet that's closest to the water heater, and get it as hot as you can, and then fill up your pot with that hot water. One of the bathrooms here, the water is just about boiling, and I should have filled it with that, and that way it wouldn't take such a long time for that water to get heated on the stove, because from the initial start it probably takes about 40 minutes for the full pot to get hot enough to start to boil. And I would have saved a lot of time, and you'll save a lot of time if you put extremely hot water in there from the jump street. Alright, so hopefully this video helps. Again, this is a very good tool to have in the current times. And until next video, peace. If you learned from this video, help support the study and time to bring this knowledge to our community. It does take time and effort to be concise and as accurate as possible, so that we can stay abreast of important health information and techniques. Please visit the site and follow these links.